All right, it's Monday, and today we are hopping into the Doctrine and Covenants. I'm very, very excited. I'm very excited for the Doctrine and Covenants. So I want to start off today by just kind of explaining a little bit about this first chapter, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the specifics of the chapter on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So as I was reading this, really this whole chapter, it even says in verse 6 that basically this chapter is kind of like a preface to this book, and it just covers the introduction. Even there is an introduction. This chapter, it's revelation given to Joseph Smith, but it's just kind of explaining why we have it. And as you go through and you read, almost the entire chapter is just a warning unto the people, a warning that if they don't repent, that all these bad things are going to be happening. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more tomorrow. But I just love this chapter just because it does explain a little bit about what this book is. So there's some really good stuff that we're going to get into this week. But before we do that, I have two things that I want to talk to you about. The first thing is I want today to be your day to kind of start reading through this chapter. It's 39 verses, which can be a lot to read in one day. So if you want to split this up and read it over the course of the next couple of days, I will tell you that tomorrow on Tuesday we're going to be reading verses 14, 16, and then 31 through 33. So if you want to take a look at that now or wait until tomorrow, however you want to do that. And then Wednesday we're going to be looking at verse 19. And Thursday, we're going to be looking at verses 26 through 28. Friday, we will be looking at verse 37. So however you want to break that up, I would recommend maybe setting aside some time on Mondays, if possible, to have that be your day that you read. And then that way, the rest of the week when you listen to the podcast, you'll just kind of be up to date and you'll know what we're talking about. Or you can wait and I'll read it to you, whatever works best. The other thing that I want to talk to you about before we kind of hop into this week is the word hearken. I'm just going to read to you this first verse. It says, "Hearken, O ye people of my church, saith the voice of him who dwells on high, and whose eyes are upon all men." So that first part right there is just saying, hearken and listen to the voice of God, the voice of the person who sees everything that you're doing, the person who knows, and because he knows all that you do, knows that you need this book. And then it says, "Yea, verily I say, hearken ye people from afar, and ye that are upon the islands of the sea, listen together." So I specifically in this verse highlighted three things. I highlighted where it says him, after saith the voice of him who dwells on high. Just because for me, I have a specific way that I highlight where it says like Lord and God. And so I like to highlight that because that's kind of a tricky spot where you kind of have to decipher that it's talking about God, because it doesn't specifically say that it's God speaking. And so I specifically highlighted that. But then the other two things that I highlighted were hearken and listen together, because that's going to be the overall lesson of this chapter. This is the very first thing we read before we get into Doctrine and Covenants. And the key point, the key reason that we have this book is to set forth the doctrines and the covenants that we need to make. And so the key lesson is just to listen. And it even says, and we'll talk about this on Friday, but in verse 37, it says, "Search these commandments, for they are true." And so that's what this chapter is explaining. This chapter is explaining that this book is meant to teach us, but we have to listen, we have to read, and we have to search, we have to ponder, and we have to pray, which is a lot of things, but they're actually a lot simpler than it appears. And we'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow. And I'll see you then. Bye.